Someone asks why your PC is slow. They say it might be a bottleneck, or your CPU is thermal throttling, or you need more VRAM while you're at it. And you nod like you understood any of that. This happens to millions of people. Computers are everywhere, but most people couldn't name 5 things inside one, which is completely fine until you're trying to buy a new PC, upgrade an old one, or figure out why it suddenly sounds like it's filing a noise complaint against itself. At that point, you're reading spec sheets full of abbreviations, forum posts that assume you already know everything, and YouTube comment sections that turn into brand arguments nobody outside of tech discussions cares about. So here's every major component inside a PC, explained in plain language: what it actually is, what it actually does, and what happens when you buy the wrong one. CPU. The CPU is the central processing unit. Everyone calls it the brain of the computer, which is accurate enough to be useful and vague enough to explain almost nothing. Here's what it actually does. Every action you take on a PC, opening an app, clicking a button, running a search, is a series of instructions. The CPU executes those instructions billions of times per second. It's not doing one big complicated thing. It's doing an enormous number of small, simple things, incredibly fast. Intel's first commercial CPU, the 4004, launched in 1971 with 2,300 transistors. A modern CPU contains billions, and somehow, that still sounds like it should be an exaggeration. The two specs people argue about most are cores and clock speed. Cores are like workers. More cores means the CPU can handle more tasks simultaneously. Clock speed, measured in gigahertz, is how fast each core processes instructions. More cores doesn't automatically mean faster. A CPU with 8 fast cores usually beats one with 16 slow ones, depending entirely on what you're running. For most of the 2000s, Intel owned this market so completely that AMD was basically an afterthought. Then AMD launched Ryzen in 2017, and suddenly there was actual competition. Prices dropped, performance jumped. It's genuinely the best outcome for anyone buying a PC, even if you never follow the rivalry. The GPU started out as just the component responsible for making games look good. Then, it accidentally became the most important piece of hardware in artificial intelligence, which also meant it became nearly impossible to buy at a reasonable price. For about 2 years straight, GPU stands for Graphics Processing Unit. It handles the kind of intense parallel math needed to render 3D environments. Every shadow, reflection, and texture in a game runs through it. But as it turns out, that exact same parallel processing ability is exactly what AI model training requires, which is why GPU demand exploded far beyond gaming. During the massive shortage between 2021 and 2023, cards were selling at 2 to 3 times their retail price. Even after things settled down, prices hit historic highs, like when the RTX 4090 launched at $1,599, which is wild. Because for that much money, you could honestly just go buy a running vehicle. When you're looking at specs, the one that really matters is VRAM, video RAM. It determines how much graphical data the card can hold in its memory. More VRAM means higher resolutions and more detailed textures. The funny thing is, running out of VRAM won't actually crash your game. It just makes it look like it was developed sometime around 2008. One thing worth knowing is that most modern CPUs include integrated graphics, which is just a GPU built directly into the processor chip. It won't run demanding games at high settings, but it handles video playback, basic tasks, and everyday work completely fine. For a lot of people, a dedicated GPU is entirely option, but for gamers and content creators, it absolutely isn't. RAM. It's the component everyone has heard of, but almost nobody actually understands. Everyone agrees that more is better, but what it actually is where things get a bit blurry. RAM stands for Random Access Memory, and it is definitely not storage. If you turn off your PC, everything in the RAM disappears instantly. What it actually does is act as your computer's working memory. When you open an application, your PC loads the parts it needs from the storage drive into RAM, because RAM is dramatically faster. The CPU reads directly from the RAM instead of waiting on your drive, which would take ages by comparison. As for how much you need, 8 gigabytes today in 2026 is barely getting by. and is noticeably frustrating for multitasking. 16 gigabytes is the current sweet spot, where most people stop noticing RAM as a limitation. 32 gigabytes is the point where you stop thinking about it entirely. One thing manufacturers don't advertise loudly enough is dual-channel memory. Running 2 matching sticks of RAM in the correct motherboard slots almost always outperforms a single stick of the same total capacity. It's basically free performance that most people leave on the table, usually just because nobody told them which slots to use. Storage. 2 main types: hard disk drives and solid-state drives. An HDD is a spinning magnetic platter inside a metal casing. The basic concept hasn't changed dramatically since IBM introduced the first commercial hard drive in 1956. It's mechanical. There are moving parts. It stores data by magnetizing sections of a spinning disk. An SSD has no moving parts. It uses flash memory chips, the same technology inside a USB drive, just faster and far more durable. No needle, no spinning platter, nothing mechanical to fail when you drop the laptop. The speed difference is not subtle. A typical HDD reads data at around 100 to 200 megabytes per second. A SATA SSD hits around 500. An NVMe SSD, which plugs directly into the motherboard instead of using a cable, can reach up to 14,000 megabytes per second on current generation hardware. That's not an incremental upgrade. That's a completely different category of experience. NVMe is faster because of the interface. SATA was designed decades ago around spinning drives. NVMe uses PCIe lanes, the same high-speed pathway graphics cards use, which removes that bottleneck entirely. HDDs aren't gone, though. They're cheap per gigabyte and excellent for bulk storage, media libraries, and files you access occasionally. Most modern builds use an SSD for the operating system and active work, and an HDD for everything else. And if one laptop in your life is currently running on an HDD, replacing it with an SSD will feel like buying an entirely new machine. Quick question: which of these components did you already know before this video started? Drop the number in the comments. And if this is finally making PC hardware make sense, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel a lot. Motherboard. Nobody thinks about the motherboard. That's the first problem. The motherboard is the backbone of the entire PC. The CPU sits in a socket on it. RAM slots into it. The GPU plugs into it. Storage attaches to it. Power runs through it. Every other component connects through the motherboard, which makes it less a component and more the platform everything else exists on. The detail people miss until it's too late: CPU socket compatibility. Intel and AMD use completely different socket designs, and even within the same brand, sockets change between CPU generations. This determines whether you can upgrade to a faster processor later without replacing the entire board. Checking socket compatibility sounds boring. It saves hundreds of dollars. Motherboards also come in different sizes: ATX, micro ATX, and mini ITX, from largest to smallest. Bigger boards have more expansion slots and better power delivery. Smaller boards fit in smaller cases. Neither is better by default. It depends entirely on what you're building. The spec most buyers skip: VRMs, or voltage regulator modules. They control how cleanly power gets delivered to the CPU. A cheap motherboard with poor VRMs running a powerful processor will thermal throttle, crash under load, or quietly degrade over time. The motherboard is not the place to save $30 on a high-end build. PSU. The power supply is the most ignored component in almost every PC build conversation, until it fails. And when it fails, it sometimes takes everything else with it. The PSU converts AC power from the wall into the DC voltages your components actually run on. Wattage tells you how much total power the unit can deliver. A flagship GPU alone can pull 450 to 600 watts under sustained load. Add a high-end CPU, storage drives, fans, and the RGB lighting that somehow finds its way into every single build, and you need serious headroom. Most builders recommend choosing a unit 20 to 30% above your calculated total, which frequently lands modern high-tier builds into 1000 watts plus territory. Efficiency is traditionally rated under the 80+ system: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, titanium. A gold-rated PSU runs at roughly 87 to 92% efficiency under load. The rest becomes wasted heat. The rule that experienced builders repeat constantly: never cheap out on the PSU. A budget no-name unit can power a PC for months. It can also surge and take the GPU and motherboard with it in the same moment. The power supply is the one component where spending $30 more genuinely protects thousands of dollars of everything else. Cooling. A modern high-ender CPU under full load easily produces 200 to over 300 watts of heat. That heat needs somewhere to go. If it doesn't, the CPU slows itself down automatically to prevent permanent damage, a process called thermal throttling, which is exactly as bad as it sounds when you're in the middle of an intense task. If you are buying a top-tier processor, an aftermarket cooling solution is mandatory. Aftermarket coolers split into two types. Air coolers use a heatsink, a massive stack of metal fins, with fans pulling heat away from the CPU. AIO liquid coolers pump fluid through tubes, carry heat to a radiator mounted to the case, and exhaust it with fans. They look cleaner, perform at a similar level to top air coolers, and cost more. The detail most people skip entirely: thermal paste. It's the thin conductive compound between the CPU and the cooler. Without it, microscopic air gaps trap heat and ruin thermal transfer. It does more for temperatures than most people expect from something that costs less than a fast food meal.
Case. The case is easy to dismiss as just a box. It isn't. Airflow determines temperatures. Temperatures determine how consistently your expensive components perform. A beautiful case with a restrictive front panel and no clear exhaust path will make a high-end PC run hotter than it should. An unremarkable case with thoughtful airflow design does the opposite. Form factor matters here too. An ATX case fits ATX, micro ATX, and mini ITX motherboards. A mini ITX case only fits mini ITX. Getting that wrong mid-build is a very specific kind of frustrating that nobody forgets the second time. Cable management matters more than beginners expect, not just for looks, but for airflow. Cables blocking the internal air path create turbulence and restrict cooling. Most modern cases include routing channels behind the motherboard tray, specifically to keep cables out of the way. And yes, the RGB. It contributes absolutely nothing to performance. It contributes quite a lot to the experience of staring at the PC at 2 a.m. while a game loads. Completely valid. You just went from knowing nothing about what's inside a PC to understanding every component that matters. Which one surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. If this finally made PC hardware make sense, hit subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Till then, it's goodbye.